Recite a memorial prayer. I'll share with you just a few short words. The first is directed to Mr. Levy. In our community, the community of the Jewish people, the survivors are our nobility. They are a generation that unfortunately is rapidly disappearing. And I just want you to know how privileged we all should be that someone like Mr. Levy, the most shocking part of his story is that he's 95 years old. Mr. Levy, I just want to thank you on behalf of everyone here for having the courage to recount your story, because it is clear that the trauma, the wounds, and the scars have never and will never heal, but that you find the courage to speak to a room filled with so many. We hope that God blesses you and your family with many years of health, success, and happiness.
Amen.
I also just want to thank all of you. I am a first-generation American. My mother was born in the displaced person camps after World War II. My grandparents were survivors of Auschwitz. And in just a few weeks from now, we commemorate the death of 57 family members whose date of death is actually unknown. But we commemorate their death on the day that they were rounded up by the Nazis. And to stand in the headquarters, right, this is the headquarters? I've never had such a confusing time getting into a building. To stand in the headquarters of this Social Security Administration, and that all of you are here today for a Holocaust program is something absolutely incredible. I, my family, so many have incredible gratitude to what this nation has given us. This incredible country that of course has its pluses and its minuses like everything else in the world, gave our nation, our people, such incredible refuge after one of the most incredible, overwhelming, and heinous barbaric events ever perpetuated by mankind. And that you have a Holocaust program here in the middle of your incredibly busy day. On behalf of the Jewish people, I'm not a spokesman for the Jewish people. I'm not a spokesman for my own family. I'm barely a spokesman for myself. But if I could take the liberty to speak on behalf of the Jewish people, to thank all of you for taking the time to remember all that we have lost. It gives us incredible strength, and it gives us incredible courage to forge forward. Just a few moments ago, we lit the candles. And of course, as I mentioned, the symbolism of the candles, as King Solomon writes, is that the flame is very much like the soul. But a flame does something else. A flame also has the ability to dispel darkness. I want to share with you another story. And it's a story about another young man by the name of Leon, not Leon Levy, but a young boy, 12 years old, named Leon Saplinsky. Leon Saplinsky was 12 years old when he was separated from his family and placed on a cattle car headed to Auschwitz. As he sat in the oppressive boxcar, all he could think about were his mother's last words to him. Take care of your brother. He looked down at his little brother Jan, who was 4 years old. Leon pulled his little brother close, embraced him. But in his mind, he wondered, how would he be able to protect this vulnerable 4-year-old little boy from the horrific realities which were all around him? How would he fulfill his promise to his mother? The train had been traveling for hours. Stifling stench, lack of air, and hunger pains began to plague the people on board. But the greatest challenge was thirst. Leon looked down, saw his little brother Jan's parched lips, and realized he had to do something. He noticed that snow had begun to accumulate on the small bars of the window of the cattle car. He lifted himself up, tried to reach through the window to accumulate some snow, but it was too narrow. He looked down at his brother, and he knew what he had to do. He maneuvered and pushed until his hand, all bloodied from the barbed wire, was able to push through the small opening. He collected a fistful of snow, pulled his hand back into the train. It had cost him a layer of skin, but it was worth it. Jan stared at the priceless treasure, and Leon knew he had not let his mother down. In that very moment, Leon became acutely aware of a young mother holding her infant nearby. The starving baby had been crying continuously for the last number of hours. Leon had been so focused on his brother that he had not paid all that much attention to others. The young mother's eyes craved the droplets of water trickling from Leon's hands. Tearfully, Leon stretched out his hand and offered the snow to the young woman. She immediately placed the droplets inside the baby's parched lips and soothed the infant for the first time in hours. Leon sat down next to his brother. He held his brother close as he tearfully apologized for not giving him the drink he so desperately needed. Hiding his own tears of disappointment, Jan squeezed his older brother's hand tightly, buried his head against his older brother, and bravely responded, "It's all right, Leon. I wasn't thirsty anyway." And as the brothers wept upon one another, Leon knew that his mother would be proud of her children. You see, my friends, we come here this morning to commemorate a cataclysmic loss, to commemorate a loss that is simply too staggering to put into words. You heard one man's story this morning. There are 6 million other stories. There are millions of other stories. Because even those who survived, the scars are there. I remember my grandmother of blessed memory always kept a closet filled with towels and soap. And I used to ask her, Bobby, which is the Yiddish form for grandma, it was only her and my grandfather living in the house, why do you have so many towels and soap? And she said to me, I will never forget the filth and terrible conditions of Auschwitz. She said, I don't need money, I don't need a lot of food, but I have to know that I can always be clean. The war ended, but the scars exist to this very day. But as a people, we are committed to being candles. Because the incredible part about the candle, the incredible part of a flame, is that even the smallest wick, even the smallest flame, has the ability to dispel so much darkness. We as a nation, we as a people, have never and will never allow ourselves to be swallowed up by the darkness. We have suffered through thousands of years of exile, thousands of years of persecution, and less than 75 years ago, an attempt to exterminate and annihilate our people. And our response is not one of anger. Our response is not one of vengeance. Our response is not a desire to get even. Our response is to do whatever we can to light the candles in this world, to create light so as to dispel the darkness. The world is filled with so much hate. The world is filled with so much sadness. The world is filled with so many broken hearts. And it's not enough to light 6 candles. We each have to find a way to light millions of candles. To do our small part in infusing some light into an otherwise dark world. To do our part to not just wallow in the darkness and reflect on that which is broken, but to find the courage to infuse a bit more light. Let us hope that in the merit of coming together this morning to remember the precious souls of the 6 million, to be inspired by the story of not just a survivor, but a man who is a rebuilder. May we find the courage to light our candles within ourselves, and may our light illuminate what is sometimes a very dark world. Please stand up for the memorial.